interrupted so rudely by the alderman. Says, do we have a time when you're thinking about putting dates in, or is that something we need to decide at this time?
Well, you can direct us that way. We were going to, as the proposed timeline is that tomorrow we would have some of this posted, the pertinent stuff posted, and start advertising. We published committee-related documents to the town website and begin to accept applications. We haven't even had time to set that deadline internally yet, so we would just use this as a guide to make that happen around everything else staff is moving.
Yeah, and I would just ask that in the process of doing it, they really clearly articulate the commitment that the volunteers will have to this committee, and the other criteria that they should use their judgment as to are they qualified to sit on the committee, and that's important. And I would, in saying that, I wouldn't want to have anybody have the impression that we want to hear from everyone. We heard 2 public meetings, and all those comments were vitally important. So feeding in to whomever is appointed ultimately to this committee is going to be vital to the actual hearing from all citizens and feeding into this committee.
It's an ambassador role.
Yeah.
Based on what they're representing. And the idea of co-opting both opponents and proponents of the recent rezoning issue is also important. And when you co-opt somebody, they're objective and not intractable. Those are some of the qualities that we'll hope to look for so that we can co-opt those varying opinions.
And so to be clear to the public that's here that may not have read this document yet, what we included in there was that the subcommittee named last month of council members, O'Day and Adams, myself and the planning director, will be the ones that will be looking at these applications and bringing a recommendation for next month for the full council's consideration.
And just to point out, that committee that was appointed last month was agreed by consensus when we put that together last month. Mr. O'Day, yourself, and Terry, and myself.
So part of that timeline, Councilmember Warren's, that you asked about is the availability of Mike and John to.
And I understand that, because I did serve on the last UDO committee, ergo not me is, the one that says, what we do is just say not me, and the last one to say that gets voted on. I'll just put my not me in first. It is a tremendous commitment, and I would just encourage the people that I served with before were there. We had several people that did drop out, and that's okay, it's understandable, but we had the majority of the people that did continue the every other week commitment to meet there and be there, so that it is a big commitment of time and energy. So I think it is good that you take applications and interview people and have them understand that.
In light of what you just said, as a possibility of people that might drop out, is there a place here for a couple of alternates that should there be somebody and the alternates should attend as well, just in the event that somebody does drop out? I mean, I'm throwing that out, and I'm not to make complexity, but.
Well, I didn't include that yet, but what we say about that on page 2 there is that council, if a vacancy occurs, council shall reappoint at its pleasure. The goal is to maintain a fully functioning committee. Didn't say that it would necessarily follow the same process application. It's just at the pleasure of the council. But we can add to that, or the alternate, the composition of it as you see fit.
Well, what I would suggest then by the staff, if you all could kick that around and perhaps bring it to Mayor Brown and get his idea, but perhaps to just think about that the alternates should attend from the beginning, because if they just step in midstream, it's going to be very difficult to try to have somebody catch up on all that has transpired It would be near impossible. I think that the task would just be burden to that individual.
So if we're gonna do that, I would rather add that word to alternates or whatever into the ordinance right now and do that, have it complete.
Well, we're still in discussion, if I'm
Come back,
not
so-
mistaken, correct?
We just made the motion and we haven't voted on it, right?
That's correct, we're in discussion.
So, yeah, and
You can have a friendly amendment to,
did I make the motion?
You made the motion.
Okay, I would
Bruce
like
seconded
to,
it.
I would like
no, the way
to
around.
offer the opportunity
You made
to,
it.
I made it.
you made it. I don't like, I can make an opportunity to do a friendly amendment. I know I made, but I would like in the, with this discussion that we might consider adding 2 alternates to the 9 members that go and 2 alternates in just, you don't have to add all this in, but in the event that somebody drops out, since
That makes a lot of sense. What you said is that requirement. Right.
Well, if you wanted to make that part of the motion, it would be pretty easy. There on page 2 in the middle, item E, membership size and composition. After resident members, you could say, comma, 2 alternates, and then for a total of 14 members. And it still keeps the 9 voting, but it just adds, I think it gets to Mike's point of adding 2 alternates and a total of 14 instead of 12.
all right, and I can just specifically say, substitute, or adding in to E, 2 alternates and a total that, total of 14 now.
Then do we leave how they're appointed, that's still a pleasure of the council?
Yeah.
So do I need a second to that friendly amendment?
Right,
Maybe
accept.
just-
I accept.
Okay, we have a friendly amendment that was accepted up in the creating 2 alternates. And any other discussion on this? Okay, all in favor of it, raise your hand.
Are you in favor?
I did.
Okay. Okay. All right, that's council budget amendment.
Next item in your agenda is a council budget amendment. I think it's pretty clear, but our finance officer is here to answer any questions you have about it. I'll say one of the biggest items while you're looking at it closely is that while we budgeted for the athletic park, northern parking lot completion, because of some timing and scheduling our rentals and other reasons, we've gone out for bid for that and have an accurate price now to put, a more accurate price to put in the upcoming budget. But it's basically taken what a huge chunk of that was put in this year's budget and going ahead and amending the budget to remove that instead of just leaving it in there and then ultimately it being that much under budget.
What were the unanticipated changes by DOT with staff entrance?
So after the contractor was done with construction of that entrance road, we have to wait for DOT to accept it. We have to get them out to review it. It took a long time for the engineer and everyone to coordinate to get them out. And when they came out, for instance, they wanted it striped a little bit differently. They wanted to make a change, so a draining change on the side and one of the ditches. Just some things like that. And we've got the contractor now finishing up that work. And I think the additional cost on that, not exactly this amount, but it was roughly $2,700. I don't think it's on this sheet, but There was a little bit extra there beyond what we budgeted for that.
That project was complete last year, that's why there was zero in the budget for this year.
I was just curious what it was.
Yeah.
There's things that the DOT needs us to do so they can take over the maintenance of the road.
We'll go ahead and that.
Might be reading this right, so we're returning 709, 709,200 to the
Right.
Unknown.
fund.
Otherwise, it looks like we budgeted too much and didn't use it, and I proposed making a budget amendment to lower that amount so that when you look back at prior budgets, it doesn't look like it's impossible to, project capital expenditures exactly during a budget year. We can't make sure our projects are all finished by June 30th.
Right.
And so, since these projects are ongoing, we're just moving to next budget year.
The downside is this current budget will have an even bigger percent increase over this amended budget, but
It's
Um,
6 to 1, a half a dozen of
it's-
another.
worth the change, we think.
Okay, any more motions? Mr. Manager, we need a motion on this, is that right?
We did.
I make a motion to approve the attached budget amendment, number 1, FY16.
Okay.
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Barnes, second by Mr. Adams, further discussion. All in favor, raise your hand. Okay. Reports and updates from the manager.
Okay, just a few things with our feasibility study related to water. I had announced last month that through this request for qualifications process, and this is between Guilford County, Stokesdale, Oak Ridge, and Summerfield, we've identified the Timmons Group as the firm that we wish to engage in a contract with for that study. And we're currently in negotiations with the Timmons Group as to the exact scope of that. We have that pretty well ironed out, but we're mainly negotiating the dollars to that, and expect to bring a contract forward in June, as do the other municipalities for consideration on that, and also at the time hope to have more of an answer as to the ability of the town to use the state budgeted funds to cover the cost of that feasibility study, or our percentage of that as a participant in that. So,
Can you talk yet about the high-level scope?
yes, the scope of that is basically what was identified in the beginning when we put the RFQ out. It's exploring options for sourcing water for our region, which is very much in line with our comprehensive plan. It's also looking at the possibility of forming a water authority, and it's also looking to some degree at the hydrology that we've had a lot of questions about what water is available and isn't available, and there's a lot of opinions on that, and at the end of the day, we have a study that goes back to 98 and 99, so we're trying to iron out some of those details, but it's mainly what was in the scope. And the big picture is it's not a question so much of is it feasible to contract and form a municipal water system. It's the details of that. It's who's the best source. Because if you look at how this all started, it was Rockingham County wishing to sell us water. The big picture of this 4 jurisdiction group is that, Rockingham might be the best answer, but there are other options around us for sourcing the water. And so it's looking at all of those available sources, what would be most feasible. There's a component there that engages a firm that has a really strong national reputation of setting water rates for a system. So that will be a component of it. So at the end of this study, it would not be, for instance, a full hydraulic design of the water system, but it would be what would be presented would be a skeletal design enough that would direct the 4 municipalities or jurisdictions and to engage us in a way where we could have a sensible and informed conversation about where we go from here, if anywhere, with that. So is that?
No, that's good. That's great. Any idea on the timeline? Or when did it start?
It's going to be many months to get through it, obviously, and it's a really big study. So I don't want to quote a month or the paper yet. So let me bring that forth next month.
You can tell me you listen to my there.
I'll bring that forth hopefully next month in a proposed contract that will include a timeline.
Okay, great.
Okay, so that's the update on the water study. We've been talking about over the last several years as our 5+ year 220 widening project drag zone. We've been talking about the need and the opportunities for landscaping within the 220 project, and also in relation to the I-73 project that's going to be open any day. And you know, we've kept up with that with NCDOT, and we just met with the right DOT contacts, Lee being the planning director, myself, to talk about landscaping, and no action item needed for us, but we're where we ought to be in those conversations. That's not something that happens as soon as the project is done. The landscaping is there and they're ready to do it, but we're in the pipeline, and the big thing that we got communicated was kind of what our big issues or concerns are with landscaping, and we communicated those as the I-73 interchange, very prominent interchange in that project, and also key intersections along 220, particularly the one there close to Town Hall. Talk about the medians in between, and Carrie, what can you add to that?
The other one, sort of gateway entrances, including the interstate Oak Ridge Road intersection, potential on the medians, and any potential to soften where there aren't Jersey barriers, where there is room to soften the noise wall. And the big thing that we all learned is that a highway project like this, the landscaping costs are based on a percentage of the total cost. So they wait until every penny is spent, because the longer you wait till the final cost is as high as it's going to be, the more money there will be for landscaping. So, and we spoke with the gentleman who will actually be the one to request the landscape design. So he requests the design to the state. It's either done by NCDOT personnel or they contract it out depending on the workload. And it's basically what our priorities are, and then that designer will tell us what our options are within those priorities.
I was just thinking about how long it's been. I thought it was 12 years, but I think I did the math and it's
18 years.
that we have been discussing this, because I was originally there when we talked about doing the 80-20 match.
That's right, that's
Long
right.
time.
And I-73 will be closed out before 220, and the main reason for that is that I-73 is a new alignment roadway, and 220 is considered an urban roadway with all sorts of moving parts up and down, and so it generally takes a shorter time frame to build new alignment like I-73, even though it's a bigger road.
When is it expected to open? I mean,
As
any idea?
soon as Duke Energy gets power to that signal at Oak Ridge, and that's been pulled up. And
68.
no,
Oh,
at Oak Ridge,
okay.
and that's been the main hold up, that and some rain delays, but that's the big one. And they're saying mid-month now. Mid-May. And I was,
They said May 2nd.
it's tough. Duke Power is a really tough timeline to rely on. If anybody wants to see it, you can. I will share my photograph of the interstate sign that is the exit for Summerfield.
We have a sign.
For next
Come
one.
on.
An exit off there.
Somebody, speaking of signs,
Can we put it on Facebook? No.
speaking of signs, the town limit sign says city limits. And I remember a long time ago, that was a problem. On 20, we had Summerfield city limit sign. All the rest of it say town limits.
Will you look into that here?
Yeah, it's yeah.
It's a little code enforcement.
So, the other item related to 220, White is a new development for us too. So we built the entrance road south of Gastown into the park so that when the 220 widening project is done and people are coming out of our park, they'll no longer be able to go south because there's no cut through at the median. So that's the impetus for building this entrance road. So now that the road is done, they just announced fairly suddenly on us that they were migrating all the traffic permanently to the northbound lane. And when they did that, unbeknownst to us, they took away our turn lane into our main entrance now into the park. And the reason that's a huge deal is so our weekend ball tournaments out in the park, we have a lot of people coming in at the same time, and they no longer have a stacking lane into the park. So our planning director and Parks and Recreation manager met with the DOT engineer, and ultimately, they don't want to give us that back, but they want to migrate. Since we have a separate turn lane for our new entrance, they want that to really become more of our main entrance. Is that fair?
Correct, and the new entrance road will act as a stacking opportunity because you're not coming directly into the park. You're going along this road before you get into the park. So it'll help. And once all 4 lanes are open, they'll review the traffic count and see if we need a turn lane. But the assumption in the meantime is that with the increased capacity of both those lanes, the right lane will act as a turn lane as folks slow down. But again, there'll be better entrance will be the roadway that won't be where you aren't slowing down the highway.
And so the other part of that is really that DOT is looking anew at our whole entrance road and that intersection with Summerhaven coming across the median because they want to,
Stay lower?
well, not committed to that yet, but they want to figure out how they can best design or potentially redesign part of that so that it works with that plan. And so you might ask, well, how did we just lose our lane and that not be a part of the plans to begin with? When you go back to the design of that 220 widening project, the town didn't even own the athletic park land at the time. And so that's how these things work.
Well, we were very cooperative in.
But they still took away our turn lane into it from what was there.
Right. That's why we met with you.
Yeah.
And
They carry the bigger stick though, right?
Well, I don't know, they've been
they do good work.
very cooperative.
Yeah, we
And you go there.
maintain a good relationship with DOT. And just a forewarning about the June council meeting, we have at least 2 public hearings with the budget, with the rezoning. We've got a lot of topics. This is going to be a busy meeting next month. And
Tell us to bring snacks.
bring snacks.
Bring dinner.
And Carrie, is there anything in the planning department that you feel like you need to share this evening?
Except that Sean's only been here a very short time, just over a week, and I'm already seeing such a great, I mean, He's a really fast learner and insisted on taking over a lot of the duties on like the second or third day, making it very easy for me to.
I wouldn't say insist.
Yes, you did. I'll do this for you, and you go on to the next thing. But it's, and it's been a really great fit for the staff too. We've had a good time.
Movie in the park, May 26th. The movie will be Sing, the children's movie. I haven't seen yet. And free popcorn and new amphitheater cover. And,
Walker's making all pop.
we're excited about council's involvement in that event. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, anything from council? Okay, Mr. Hill, we had a council member that requested a closed session for personnel matters.
I said we may need one. I didn't, you weren't here, I didn't know if that's something we need to discuss about.
Yeah, let's go ahead real quick.
Okay.
You have the statute number that was referenced.
143, 318.
Consult with the attorney one of
And 160, 168.
318, right.
318-11.
I've got it here, Bill.
One 318-11, 6.
I'll make a motion that we recess, closed session, discuss personnel and discussion with our attorney for GS statute 143, 318-11.7.
Second.